back, noble heroes. We rejoin our questers as they are just about to reach the second Kranich lock and reveal a little secret of Roland's. Go ahead, Roland. Will you respond to the questions about the other?
So everybody's present right now, right?
Yes.
The other?
You know, I thought you would have known how this works, but if we're going to be out and we don't know how much longer we're going to be out, I'm just going to spoil something for everybody. So my fate, all the stories you hear about me and the things that I've done, that's not exactly me. I'm sort of a vessel for my fate. And, in battle, one-on-one, he'll always stand in victory. That whole part of my fate, that's not me. It's something takes over. And
What's
basically
something?
Makes it happen.
Are you saying you're bound?
Yeah.
A what?
Not that many people know that about it. The Kings of Garen
June
know.
looks genuinely surprised. Although, then she's like, okay, it kind of makes sense.
Kings of Garen know. Harper and his crew know.
What's a bound? Hero asks.
Someone who is so inextricably linked to their fate that the fate often takes over. Although you do not seem to be fully bound. You're not like the Archon, for example.
Who's the Archon? Dom asks.
The Archon is fate's answer to problems that arise in the world.
What was it?
No, I'm saying the Archon is. But the Archon is fully bound. You do not seem to be, because the Archon is 100% controlled by fate. Whereas you seem to not be.
Yeah, it just kind of activates when I'm in trouble.
Fascinating. June looks like she really wants to, question you more, and then she quickly reins herself in. My apologies.
But, so, just so everybody knows, essentially if I'm fighting somebody and it's me and the other person, you don't join in.
Can we trust this other? She says.
All the other parts of my fate is bound to that too. Always walking the light, shit like that. So, but yeah, but like I said, with Dambleth, most of the reason you see me working out every day is because the other takes a lot out of me. Doing physical things that I'm not able to do. Otherwise, I do my best to prepare the vessel for what it's got to do. But you see me fighting two guys at once? It's all me. So I try to be okay at it, but there's another side of me that's way, way better, and that's who they write stories about. So yeah. So now you guys know. So just, try to keep it to yourselves, please. It's not exactly a helpful piece of information for enemies to know.
That would be easy to exploit, yes.
Yeah. So,
Honestly, lad, I think most of your enemies know it.
But yes, that part is.
yeah,
You might not understand it.
When did it manifest?
First time I ever got in a fight.
So if one of us fought you one-on-one, we'd be fighting him.
That's why when I was sparring,
That's what I was wondering.
that was all me.
So, reactions. Triss just kind of looks like she's not quite getting it. Johnny looks like she's having some kind of realization. She doesn't look like it's pleasant. Folly, she kind of has a horrified look on her face. Dom looks interested. Klebe looks bored. Prongor, he's nodding, and you hear vaguely, I knew next to you. And shadow is backing him up.
What about Hero?
Hero looks a little sad. What about you guys?
Isaac doesn't seem to be paying a lot of attention. Ever since Dambleth was brought up, he seems to have really retreated into himself, and he has a copper coin in his fingers that he's kind of like toying with. I already have inspiration, so.
Yuffie looks interested. Maybe trying him again, one-on-one.
June looks
Yes!
like things have fallen into place, and it's like, that totally makes sense. Then she lets it sit for a moment, see if anything, and she looks over. Have you encountered Dambleth?
His eyes flick to you, and he like pulls back his cowl and says, once or twice.
How? She asks.
I think this may be a discussion for another time.
I think it's my ship, and we discuss it now. Unless you're a great swimmer.
Well, I'm not. So if the captain says so, I guess I can talk about it.
He looks down at you.
It's like rude.
Jesus, good swears. Doubt it.
I'm not known for my niceties, she says in response.
Well.
I didn't say that in game. It was not in game. Sorry. June wouldn't do that.
What did you say?
Pirate.
Besides, if we're to face him in battle, potentially, it's important to know.
The Chronic Lock, Dom says. He's going to turn and run up to relieve Bali on the upper deck. If you're going to talk, make it quick or you'll be drowned out.
Well,
He made an appearance in Selenox many years ago.
doing what?
He's Dambleth. How am I to know? And then Isaac's going to get up and walk off.
She's gonna lean
I'm
back.
not even going to bother rolling insight because I know you're not saying everything.
She's gonna say, well, that seemed like a bunch of lies. Not that I'm surprised.
You all can tell he's not like super composed, so like it's obvious he was just like, "Bleh. Don't ask me about it."
Yeah, she noticed.
You'll see Prongor sort of rubs his arm a little bit.
Her eyes flick to Prongor, watches him walk away, and she lets it go.
I feel like I did a disservice with the description of the Krennic Loch last time as far as how the water flows. So, you have to imagine there's a cliff and the river down below.
Mm-hmm.
The river is flood this way and then doesn't fall over the edge. Instead, up at the top, so here's like the cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the river goes and then there are two side channels that the river is pushed into one of them, a smaller channel.
Uh-huh.
And the rest of the water actually flows down through a hole in the cliff. And then washes out from an underneath, like a tube underneath the ground at the bottom. The left channel sends the water down a waterfall on the side, not down the main cliffside where the big symbol is. And then when it reaches the bottom, it curves and meets the big river at the bottom. And the right side channel is empty all the way until the magic happens and sends you guys to the right to be lifted up. So the reason that it looks weird coming down is because there's a river coming towards you, but no waterfall coming off
Mhm.
like in front of you.
Gotcha.
But this time is a little different. When the magic happens, the horn is blown, and you all are whisked off onto the proper channel to be risen up. You see at the top of the giant tube carved out of the mountain, there is a flickering, almost majestic light that looks like it might be playing off of giant wind chimes. And you hear a lot of tinkling, like glass is hitting other glass. pass very lightly over and over and over again 1,000 times. As you swirl about, Triss frets. Bali seems more enthusiastic about it this time, less secretive. Hero is still trying to gain a sense of how it works. Cleby is up in the crow's nest, and it looks like he wants to be at the top before everybody else. And Dom is just kind of casually steering the ship this time. When you guys reach the top and flood out into the upper portion, you connect with the crystal forest. As you come out, the early morning sunlight is reflected 1,000 times off of fractals hanging from every vegetation in the area, creating a bright, crystalline structure, like trees around you, bushes. Huge crystalline structures jut up from the river itself, massive, perhaps as large as the ship. And they stick high up into the air. And all that tinkling is coming from these wind chime-like growths coming off the trees, wafting in a slight breeze in the morning. The first thing you see as you are led off into the upper river is a koi fish covered in crystalline growths on its back. It is a rainbow of hues and is about 12 feet long. It probably weighs several hundred pounds. And it is going to curiously look up at you all from the lower river as it flicks its tail away from the water's edge. It is peaceful.
Except for the
It almost drones into this sort of background noise, though, after a few moments. You see insects, little beetles with crystal shells. As a matter of fact, you don't see a whole lot of life. It almost looks empty.
You people lean over to Bali. Did you ever think you'd see this?
No. I don't think I'm this imaginative. What are the reactions of the rest of the group? Although, do you keep talking about it?
She'd just be standing next to Bali, admiring everything, probably.
She's going to turn to you and give you like a light punch on the arm.
What? She says.
You, some tree.
This'll make a fabulous painting, she says.
June, after we got on the walks, she did her little salute again, and then after we actually entered the forest, June looks like she is attempting to not fret. Like, she keeps catching herself pacing, she keeps twisting her hands, she keeps adjusting her hair, she is trying really hard not to openly look super worried, but it's clear she kind of is.
Roland, you get a sense that the other is pondering his response to your revelation. You gain a sense that it is thinking that it is frustrating that it is now revealed, but that in coming battles it may be useful if they leave it alone. So it gets torn, and it doesn't respond with words. What is your response to the forest?
he just wants to stay.
Isaac.
He's looking in amazement. With Brongor's nearby, he says something about how it's hard to imagine that someone like Gambit can find their way to a place so beautiful.
After a few more moments, you see something large leap through the forest. It is an elk, but its skin shines with emeralds. An extremely rare mammal to the Crystal Forest. Juniper, you are well aware that the Crystal Forest has very few mammals in it. The largest of them is the emerald elk, which is one of Yanjasi's favorite foods. They are considered the most majestic and beautiful of all the elk.
Have I gotten to taste one?
Yes, they are very hard.
That's fair.
So I'll list a couple of the creatures you guys see. So a lot of the trees have these massive crystal insects that have a proboscis that is stuck into the tree, sucking innards from the tree. And they have these big crystal wings that they flutter occasionally. And you note that as your ship goes by, they'll flutter them in a specific pattern to cause the light to refract on your eyes and then fly away once you're distracted. You will see sundrakes. They hang out in the upper trees basking, and they are about the size of small dogs. And they have skins that shine like bronze and gold, and they reflect light from the upper branches. And then the largest, and the ones that only the most perceptive of you will see, are these giant crystalline boulders. June, you know that these are crystal galabdir rock elementals that Yanjasi has made deals and bargains with to warn him of any danger that comes from the forest. And the last one, which you'll barely see, is one of the giant ruby mantises in the forest. They're about the size, half the size of a tree, and they stalk through the far reaches of the crystal forest as its alpha predators. They are massive. Their skin is a shining red that causes confusion for most of the crystalline creatures in the forest. They like focus on them, but they can't quite see them, and then they come up and rip them apart with their massive pincers.
Is there any prohibition on hunting anything in the crystal forest?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Actually, June is going to take this moment. She realizes she's been distracted. She goes, I should mention, while we were within the bounds of the crystal forest, kill nothing, hunt nothing, take nothing. This is Yanjasi's lair.
She'll look back at her crew. You hear that? She says. Don't touch anything. And then she looks at Klebe.
She will look at Klebe as well because she knows that of anyone who would do something, it would probably be him, and it would be in good fun. She goes, Yanjasi is not a forgiving individual, and he is a dragon. He jealously guards his possessions.
You hear a thunk as a large pine cone-like structure, but maybe 3 times as long, is going to hit against the front of your ship, and it sort of drags crystal-like on your deck for a few moments before Triss like kicks it off the ship for scratching the surface of it. Klebe's like as it gets flipped to the nearby land.
She'll say, Klebe, it's best to just pretend you aren't seeing all these wonderful things if you can't resist trying to take them home with you.
He's gonna like close his eyes and try to climb, and then it's like Master, I know what the godmother just said, but some of these things are very valuable. And if Yanjasi is wounded, perhaps there might be opportunities in the future.
Pronger, I think I'd wait until you can make sure that Njasi is dead before you think about taking anything.
Wise decision, Master, he says.
But what did you have your eye on? Just out of curiosity.
Well, he says, I obviously have no idea. But I do know that there are supposed to be some kind of seeds in this forest. He says, they're very valuable. On the black market, they can go for as much as 10,000 gold pieces each.
Not bad for a seed.
Although I do hear they're difficult to carry. The closest weigh about 400 to 500 pounds.
How big are they?
I think they're about as big as a man.
I see. Well, no wonder they're worth so much.
Says, it's said that there is a crystal grove of trees that are larger than any others, and grow at the top with the most beautiful diamonds, and that these seeds plant those trees.
Have you ever seen one on the black market in person?
I have seen one broken up in pieces, he says.
Broken up? For what reason? Could you still plant it in pieces?
He says, its outer shell is covered in crystal structures that prevent anyone from eating it. I think that there are large birds called rocks that fly around them and try to eat the seeds, but they can't get their beaks on them because of those crystals.
I see. Didn't I interact with one of these in my backstory at one point?
No.
No. Okay. I think me and him just talked about it. Maybe.
All right. So it was going to be about an hour sailing to make your guys' way to Genjasi's lair.
Yeah, the closer we get, the more June just stops trying to hide her anxiety. And she's literally pacing in circles in front of the boat right now.
You see Bali getting ready with equipment.
She goes, oh, I should also mention, the only ones he will allow in his cave are those who are fated to be there.
I'm fated to be there, Bali says. Aren't I?
No. I'm afraid not.
Do you mean only those mentioned in the
Yes.
prophecy?
He is very particular. She looks both perturbed and it looks like it's a nice distraction for her for a minute.
What do you think he would think of machines?
Your constructs?
Yes.
As long as they don't damage anything or try to take anything, I don't see a problem with that. They are not sentient beings on their own. However, Prongor should not come.
Of course.
Shadow is going, she will look over towards you.
She goes, Shadow, you... She goes, I would not, without his permission. A dragon entering another dragon's lair is...
I wondered about that.
I suggest you do not.
I'll be careful.
She's going to
Although,
listen to you.
if you stay in the Shadow Realm, you might still be able to stay near him. Although I would ask his permission, assuming he is able to give it. I would ask his permission first.
Well,
Johnny says, be careful in that. Okay?
be careful out here. You never know what might come along.
Hey, Tris, help me get the cannon up, she says. They're going to raise the cannon. As they get the cannon raised up and you all prepare your equipment, you're going to break out from the river into a vast lake. It is very, very still. From this lake springs all the rivers in Mythia.
Welcome to the center of the world.
She looks around.
It is surrounded in mighty crystalline trees. They're cut with jagged stones that grow wild here. It is very still everywhere. There's barely a breeze. The most thing you see is a tiny insect that you can actually hear from a good 30, 40 yards away as it buzzes across the surface of the water. A sunlight beam striking off of it reflects and shows you where it is.
This is where fate was born.
In the center of the lake, you see a great cave, like a geode cracked open. The front of it faces you, and there is a cluster of stones arrayed of many colors, and a vast open chamber the size that you could fit many wagons through at once. And it seems to go into the ground.
There are trees around it, right, on the island?
No, it is barren.
Really? Okay.
There is some bushes and some grass. Each of the stalks of grass, though, is sharp enough to cut. As you float like you are in some kind of dead place, although you can hear in the background enough noises of life to give you the sense that that's not the case. There's just unusual stillness to everything. Triss and Dom make ready the gangplank. When you pull up to the edge of the shore, they throw it down the beam of wood to allow you also to descend.
She'll turn and look at the crew. Be prepared for anything, including attack. Keep 2 on watch still, and even if we don't return, don't come in.
June is already off the boat and halfway to the gate.
Right.
I'm tight on you.
While he's going to salute, you've got it.
I know you do, she says.
Point the cannon towards the cave mouth, she says.
She'll follow after you.
Isaac, who do you choose? Tight quarters do not bode well for the oaken bolter.
I'll bring just Phalor. And I tell Prongor to keep an eye on things and make sure Cleby doesn't touch anything. And if the crew needs help, lend them a hand.
I understand. He says, listen to me, catching all those silly pirate terms. Of course, master, he says.
Aye, master.
I'll know if anything happens to you.
You'll know.
He gives you a nod. You can tell he's worried, but that's it.
Okay.
You head off the ship.
Do we see any signs of that big explosion?
No.
We didn't anywhere in entering?
No.
Okay.
As you go to enter,
She will hold up her hand before we step into the cavern. She goes, wait. And she's going to tap her beetle box. It lands, and she reaches inside and pulls out a crystal. And it's clear it's a crystal from this area, like from the crystal forest.
Thought you were not allowed to take anything.
I was given.
Joking.
She touches it, and it begins to glow slightly. Yen, it's June. I'm here with others. We need to enter. Can you hear me? Yen? Stay behind me. She looks vaguely worried for your safety. All of you. She starts walking in. Do we see any signs of, like, has anything been disturbed out of the norm? Like, does it look different than it should?
No.
Okay.
You see, as you step near it, huge footprints of a great dragon that had been smashed into the crystals over time to flatten them out into a kind of paved road made out of fractals. Every crystal of every color occupy the spaces around you, some of them large enough that they are quite a bit longer than a man, sticking out from the wall, and some much larger than that. You walk between a maw of spikes as you head into Yenjasi's cave, and find yourself traveling down a smooth path formed out of what look to be crushed crystals. You can tell that there is a specific area on the ceiling where two things drag along either side, likely the wings of a very large dragon. It has carved a white residue into the ceiling over time.
Yeah, June is not set a slow pace. She has basically started power walking through the cave, and she clearly knows exactly where she's going.
Okay.
She does occasionally say, don't step in that spot, or avoid over there.
Yuffie will actually walk up next to Roland. So, if the big guy's here, let the other take him?
I don't think I need to. I think the plan is to kill me and Jossie.
No.
Oh, Dambleth.
She'll look at him with this droll
you mean
look.
Dambleth? Oh, you mean Dambleth? Okay, no,
She'll
sorry.
say, not the dragon.
Oh, no, Dambleth, I can't do anything against him.
Well, she says, I can try my hand at it.
I'm super curious to see how that works.
You roll really well.
No, I can't.
As we walk, Isaac's going to remind you all. I don't know what we're going to run into in there, but if anything were to happen to me, I only ask that you bring my remains back to Prongor. You'll know what to do.
Fine.
I don't lie very much.
You see Phalor behind Isaac. He almost seems to creep. He kind of bends at the knees like a trained thief and sneaks very quietly along.
Who will you bring with you? Baylor?
Just Phalor.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to risk pissing off a world dragon by bringing in like a bunch of little
That's
things
fair.
with
Trinkets.
Yeah.
Julian, take the dragon directly in front of you and place him to your left below the rock.
Right here.
Yes, and now knock him over.
Okay.
Preferably gently turn
I'm
him
going to do
over.
so very carefully.
Oh, he's made of plastic.
I mean, he is made of plastic, but
and then
still.
replace the crystals where they were.
Hold on. I'm trying to do so in a way where there's no weight on his wings.
It's fine, it's plastic.
There we go. The
Yeah.
wings are like soft plastic, so I don't want to bend them.
they will return, unfortunately.
Please place yourselves at the front of the cave. This is the entrance on your side.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the entrance, correct.
She's gonna be back here with you.
And Phalor.
What's Hero doing
Yeah.
during this? Like, how's he handling this?
Put him right next to me.
His hands are trembling as he holds onto the staff. He walks amid the cluster of you.
Sorry.
Do you think he's okay? He says.
I hope so. I don't know. He
What
would
was that
normally.
crystal you drew out? You said he just gave it to you?
Yes, he gave it to me. It's a shard from the cave.
You guys must know each other very well.
I do.
I hope he's okay.
Thank you, Hero.
You walk into a grand chamber. You see that there is a natural spring in here. Comes up probably... You certainly have walked far enough to where you are outside of the lake at this point.
How dark is it inside right now?
It should be much darker. It would normally be very dark in here. But you see something strange. There's light shining in from the ceiling.
Like, there's a hole in it?
In fact, as you look up, there are many holes. There's also a thin layer of dust on everything in here.
Can I see that on entering?
It is actually quite difficult to see. There is a mound of crystals.
Well, I know it's not supposed to be there, so...
You do know that, therefore you are aware.
June enters, and a very strangled gasp echoes from her mouth as she takes off running towards him.
She is headed towards a large mound of crystals in the corner.
Like, she is sprinting.
You guys see that there are small holes, a little less than the size of a person, punched through the ceiling, and a thin layer of dust on everything. That rock right there, next to the dragon, is some kind of platform. It clearly has been made that way to where you walk up on it. It's the size for Yen himself.
It's nice and comfy to lounge on.
And it alone is reasonably well lit in the room. There is a sort of spiral of crystals, like a chandelier on the ceiling directly over it. There are a lot of crystals, but not as many as you might think in this room. And as you walk in, June heads towards that thing, and you all suddenly see the amount of crystals draw breath.
Can I move me?
Yes, you may move freely
So-
at this
Yeah,
point.
feel free to just stick me next to Yen.
As soon as you take off alone, Phalor's going to silently tail you, and then Isaac's just kind of walking into the cavern with his walking stick slowly.
Okay, so
Yuffie's gonna hesitate a moment.
It is difficult to tell, but as you approach, you see the outline of a wing against the wall. The crystals of Yenjasi and the wall are the same color, and both are almost see-through. It is very difficult to tell where he begins and the floor and ceiling end. He camouflages naturally in his own cavern, but as you approach, you see his eyes. The line of his eyes is shut, and there's a couple of small wrinkles on his face from age. And you see one of his great wings is pinned beneath him, as though he fell off of the platform adjacent to him and crushed it.
do we see any wounds? Is there any blood? Or
You do see char around his head.
yes.
A ring of what almost looks like gunpowder blasts. Encircles Yenjasi's head, but it is tucked sort of under, almost in his arm.
Yes. June goes, "Oh, by the way, Yen!"
There's
She
no
starts-
response.
She starts trying to feel him. She's wormed her way underneath certain things, and she's touching him and trying to find exactly what's wrong.
Yuffie's gonna look at Hero. Come on. And they'll run to join. If she won't.
He feels asleep, Yen says. But he does have brain activity.
Hero says.
Hero says that, yes.
Is there anything I can do?
Hero seems stunned. He looks like he just kind of stopped in his tracks to look.
June is grasping this little pendant. I don't know if anybody ever noticed it. It's usually hidden, but it's a perfectly spherical ball that has very intricate engravings, and she's just clutching it right now.
Isaac, are you back there?
As this is happening, Isaac pulls a trick he's devised. He's going to hide, and then Phalor is going to start moving and acting as if he is Isaac. And so it looks like this is the party, and Isaac's going to be hiding behind those crystals.
The see-through crystals?
Are they all actually see-through?
No,
Is
they're
it not?
I know, I'm just
they're a little too broken.
I'm sorry, I'm
Let's
just
find a rock
screwing with you.
formation.
They're magnifying him.
And there's a light shining through the whole thing, and you're just
Yeah.
lit off. You're just perfectly hidden.
My face is gigantic.
As you walk up, you begin to poke and prod at Yen, but he is not responding at all.
You said he feels like he's asleep, Hero.
I can't even. His mind is too great. Yen said, Hero says as he grasps his head.
Where's the crown?
The crown.
All depictions of Yenjasi in every storybook you've ever read show him with a great crown.
Her hand is coating the char.
It does
Yeah.
brush off. And underneath, there's some broken scales, but it doesn't look like it cracked anything.
Yeah, Roland steps back and kind of grabs Hero's shoulder and pulls him in a little bit and says, "Yo, just try to breathe."
Okay.
This is probably the most he's probably felt June as well, by the way.
He can't feel shit right now. He's shut down.
Yes!
Haha! My moment of weakness isn't revealed.
Yes, it's clear June is attempting to not panic right now.
What's wrong with him?
It's okay, I'm fine. He says, go on. Help them.
Something I can do.
Something happened to the crown. Look, that's where it usually rests.
How do we find that?
You look up and see the holes are punched in almost a 360 arc. through
Are they in
upper
the walls
ceiling.
as well?
They do go, they almost all go up. They're all above, like, at least 40 yards up in the cave.
How large are they?
Some of them are huge. Some of them are the size of wagons. Other ones are quite small. Maybe
So
your
individuals
size.
could fit through them.
Yes, they could. But it'd be a difficult climb.
Does anything else look out of place? Or...
Besides Jen's wing clearly being broken.
Okay, I'm going to assume there's no really good way of making him able to, get us to get that out. He's too heavy, right?
Yeah, he weighs like a lot of tons.
A lot of tons.
Could she conceivably steal his weight?
Yes,
Although
although
conceivably.
that is conceivable. You don't know if her fate is capable of handling a world dragon.
We could find out.
Clearly, Hero's empathy isn't, empathic abilities can't handle it.
I do have a question. I don't know how much I know about how your fate works. I don't remember if that was brought up in game.
Only in limited amounts. She's probably only told you. She eventually revealed that she could see things in people. She could see what's most important to them, some of their attributes. And she's revealed she can steal things from within people. That's it.
Okay. You would notice that June tries to keep out of your hand reach whenever she's near you. But besides that, she looks at you and goes, "What all can you steal, exactly?
Anything from within us.
Are you like Harper? Can you steal intangible things?
Yes.
Can you steal part of his weight?
I've never tried.
You've done it to a sea serpent before.
That's right. I'm not sure how effective it'll be against the Dragon of Fate, but yes.
We need to get his weight out from under him."
Isaac.
How loud do you say that?
You see the
well,
fractals of
are
light
you
reflecting
closer?
I'm with Hero over here.
shining from
she's
this
calling it out.
direction,
Okay.
coming the way you guys came.
Is that also where I hear the footsteps coming from?
Yes, correct. Something big this way comes.
Isaac immediately shifts his hiding spot to somewhere around this corner.
You gain a movement action.
And then
Is that a movement action? 6 squares?
Can he...
so I was right here.
So 1... Can you squeeze through there? Or
No,
count
he's
as
small.
25. It would be 2 to go.
Yeah. To go
Through
this
here?
way. Yeah.
Good Halloween.
6 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same place. So you
Yeah.
can get to here. You are around the corner, though.
Okay. I'll move to
At
there.
that point, all
put
of
me
you
closer to
hear the
You
great
will put it
footsteps of a massive
Move you where?
something.
Underneath Yen's wing.
You are.
No, like against his body.
Right up there.
Okay.
Yeah, she's like way over there.
Oh god.
I'm sorry. You know this. You're attacking June. I knew I should keep my distance from you.
I mean, you really should.
Uh-huh.
Sarah?
No!
Actually, if you can show the camera real quick. The battle cam.
Look at this guy. Look at that shield. That shield's incredible.
Alright, go ahead and place him down. You hear, "Don't say nothing." Move him in 3 squares. "Wait," he says, and you see a lantern light come from behind him as this person enters 1 square behind Podjack. Oh, show the camera.
Wow, this base is really good. Make sure I actually... Make sure I'm like getting focus and everything.
I assume that guy's trouble.
He's fine.
No, he's fine.
He's
That's
friendly.
fine.
They're all friendly.
You hear, what is it?
This escalated very quickly.
Yeah.
I love his face.
Roland, you hear Ace's voice.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was going to say, is that who I think it is?
You having flashbacks to the one shot?
Yes!
Rainbow explosion!
Place him just behind Zio. And finally you hear, we already knew who it was. Camera.
Sorry.
Oh, that looks so good. Off, Sarah.
So did you green stuff these tentacles?
Yes.
His book.
It's
I almost
green
don't
stuff
believe you.
and paper clips.
Dude, make sure you get the book, because it's like the underside.
Yeah. Turn it on. There we go.
God, that's so sick.
You see quite the motley crew of villains enter the cave. Leading them, of course, is Potjack. Mercenary, ogre, something extraordinaire. As he enters, the lantern carrier behind him is a tiefling. He has a mop of long bangs that hang over one of his eyes, and he's going to flip it over his horn so it holds it upright. What is it? Or he goes, what is it? As he looks out with the lantern light, you hear, old enemies. From something nightmarish behind the two of them.
You will definitely see June stiffen the moment she heard his voice.
Yuffie's gonna hide. Is there time to do that?
The light has already hit you.
Okay,
at this
never
point.
mind then. Too late.
Everybody on the battlefield can take one movement.
Do I still get movement?
Yes.
Okay.
You do.
I guess I'm gonna go.
Pick one.
Didn't Jossie seem like he was still alive?
Yes.
You're
Just
breathing.
asleep.
Just asleep. There's nothing for me to use in this field.
Oh shit, you are so close. You can take a movement.
Can I sprint?
Gambleth flies up 6 squares.
Douche. Can I dash, Daniel, or just move?
You may move. You may not dash.
Okay.
Both you and Zio seem to have had the same idea as both of you head towards a cluster of hideable terrain.
And her.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you meant him too.
No.
So how close
6 squares.
is...
I'm pretty sure he would also do the same. Because nobody
That's
wants
like,
to be.
what, 20 feet away from each other?
Mm.
Alright, so I need to introduce a couple of rules
Mhm.
for an ascended fight. We're going to use all of the specialized combat rules for this specific fight in this campaign. So these are all homebrew. So there will be a Tempest. A Tempest is an effect that fate causes when two Ascended fight each other. The more Ascended that are in the combat, the stronger the Tempest is. It's basically a random global effect that affects everybody. And it's something that you guys don't know what will happen. You'll have to adjust to it.
This is going to be fun.
Uh-huh.
Then, in this particular fight, there will be what is called jockeying, which is where, because you all know each other, fate is going to sort of suggest that, it will strongly suggest, that you all have some pre-combat banter with foes. You feel a sort of push to play along. If you choose not to do the jockeying, you'll get a -3 to your eventual initiative roll. But if you play and you do reasonably well, you will gain bonuses to your initiative that you can exchange for other bonuses as well. And I will describe those bonuses to you in one moment.
Battle time. Ascended battle time.
Okay. So,
We are ridiculously outmatched.
Yeah? I
Yes.
have that feeling. It's like that one time in battle when I just wrote on my finger, so.
I read that a lot.
alright, so jockeying.
Okay, well, shit happens a lot on mine.
So, if a side decides to begin combat immediately before jockeying, that side takes a -3. The negative reduces for each jockeying round that goes down. Each jockeying round that goes by, so there are 3 rounds, goes by, and it can be reduced down to 0, but you can also gain bonuses on top of that. Each round, characters are able to trade small banter, insults, and barbs for an allotted time, which can award bonuses to initiative based on GM preference or successful checks. Whenever jockeying ends, each side adds up all their bonuses and their negatives and adjusts their initiative roll by that much. Bonuses gained by banter can also be traded for small advantages during jockeying, otherwise they're added to initiative. You can spend a +1 to move 1 square, pull out a weapon or object, or load ammo, or make an insight check. You can spend +2 to make a perception check, take a dodge action until your turn comes around for the first turn. So you make it, like, basically if you go like last in initiative, or you suspect you'll go late, then you can trade a +2 to dodge. And you can spend a +3 to secretly try to pull a fast one on your enemy, take a cheeky action, such as throw sand in their eyes, or you could like cast a spell, like heal you or something. So that's how it works. So, as we enter, we will... Now, the jockeying is going to take place separately. This fight is also going to have a special rule that will only apply to this fight for the most part. And that's called the duelist. So each one of you have a specific enemy that you are dueling in this fight. If you try to fight anybody other than that enemy, except with an AoE, there is a special type of opportunity attack that you will provoke.
Oh.
So, Roland, you're dueling Ace.
Yeah.
Isaac, you're dueling Zeno.
Okay.
Euphemia, you're dueling Potjack. And Juniper, you're dueling Dambleth.
Shock.
If you... Oh, yes, correct.
The first one?
Yeah, correct.
Thank you. Important to know that.
So we can't assist each other at all?
So you can, but if you attack somebody without an AoE attack, other than your chosen guy, you, that person can either A, cast a spell at you, any spell, B, make a ranged attack, or C, move their speed and make a melee attack against you. And if the other enemies do that, you can do the same thing to them.
So if I'm fighting Ace and he
tries
decides
to
turn
hit
around and
Juniper. You get to move you get to move your whole speed and make a melee attack, or you can cast a spell. So you basically get like a free turn if your opponent tries to do it.
Cool.
So this is because your enemies are highly skilled, you guys are highly skilled, and you're not going to give your enemy the chance to get that initiative.
Okay.
So you get like a super opportunity attack. Alright, so we will go ahead and begin with the jockeying. So, who would like to go first?
Sure.
Taking one for the team.
Roland. So, as you and Ace see each other, he is going to sort of casually begin to walk to the side, and he sort of spins Face Smasher, his bat. And you see this sort of predator-like excitement in his eyes. Yes.
I think we need to stop. And then we're at an hour.
So, the epic fight will be coming up here in just a moment. Go ahead and say goodbye to you guys for just a couple minutes, and we'll take a break here. And remember, do try this at home, and make sure to like and subscribe.